Hey all, welcome to another video, and I'm recording this video on the 18th of June. It's almost 10 p.m. here in Sydney, Australia, and we're going through a bit of a harsh winter. I mean, it's not supposed to be this cold by June, but yes, we are experiencing some really cold temperatures here. And as I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, um, unlike American and European countries, we do not have homes here in Australia that are centrally heated or that have central heating. That's why the winter here feels a bit harsher than it does in those countries. Okay, with that out of the way, in this video, I'll just give a quick update on the development of my communication skills with respect to my day job, and also give a little update on the migration process of migrating the My Day Todo backend from NodeJS, which is NodeJS to Java Spring Boot. Um, okay, so I'm hoping to keep this video a bit short. And first of all, let's start with my communication skills. Right, so communication skills. So the entire reason, the entire reason why I started making these videos was to improve my communication skills and to get a better control of my thoughts and my speech and how I communicate my thoughts. Now, for those of you who have been watching my videos, you would know that for my day job, I work at one of the big banks here in Sydney, Australia. And if there's one thing that I've realized while working in the bank, or even for that matter, interviewing at banks prior to working in the bank, is that banks prefer their employees to communicate in a crisp and a clear manner. So the point that you're trying to make in whatever you're saying, okay, let's backtrack. So the way banks prefer their employees to communicate is that when you start talking about something, you must clearly and effectively communicate your thoughts, and you should just get to the point quickly and not beat around the bush. So if you're trying to give a speech on any subject, the general preference is that you start by just giving a summary of what you're going to talk about, and then elaborate on that as you go along. And try not to talk too much. And see, one of the things is one of the problems that, as an engineer, one of the problems that most engineers I know, especially me, most engineers the problems that we have is that we try to talk too much. We try to go off on tangents. We'll start talking about something and then we're like, oh no, wait. So each conversation, each thought will have a branching chain of thoughts. So I'm talking about this. Oh wait. So for example, let me try to think of something. How do I put this? Okay, so I'm talking about, say I'm writing this code. Wait, if I'm writing this code, if I'm writing this function, maybe I could write it recursively. If I write it recursively, there's a few different ways of going about that. So if I write it recursively, okay, so I can either do it this way, I can do it that way, or wait, that brings to mind mathematical induction. Oh wow, mathematical induction. Oh yeah, function within a function within a function. You know what? Wait a second. This also reminds me of that movie Inception, like a dream within a dream. See what I'm talking about? So, in some way, this could also be. You can also call this procrastination, or just each thought that you have, that I have as an engineer, has branches into a few different thoughts, and each of those branches leads to further branches. So again, if you think about it, it's like one of the most popular and the most difficult data structures in computer science is a tree, and a tree can have like heaps of different branches and nodes and things like that. So yeah, so that's a problem. That's a problem that most of us engineers have, is that we get lost into what we're talking about. We get lost in thoughts, and then be like, oh boy, we just wander off the beaten. We just beat around. We wander off the established path and just beat around the bush. That's the best way to put it. So I was having that. I was having a lot of that. I was actually in the first year of my day job. I was having a lot of that. So every morning, uh, when we have our agile daily stand up, so we had a scrum team, and then we have a daily stand up, and in that stand up, so everyone's giving their updates. They're all crisp and clear, and then it comes to me, and then I just keep going on and on about some of the other issues. I mean, when I say on and on, I mean I take like 3 or 4 minutes more than others, and that just makes that stand up go on so much longer. So instead of it being just 15 minutes, it actually goes on for like 30 minutes, or even 25, 30 minutes sometimes. So that was one of the issues. And my manager at my day job gave me quite a bit of feedback in my first year of working there. Like, Boomer, you cannot do this because you're just not setting a good example, and this is not that hard. It should be easier, because when they hired me, their vision for me and my development was something different to what I thought it was. For me, yes, I had this leadership goal in my mind, leadership career goal in my mind, but I wasn't quite thinking like that. I was actually thinking like an engineer. I was thinking about fixing all these, fixing all these little bugs and doing all this, writing a whole bunch of code and that sort of stuff. So yeah, and how so? Yes, I did take all that feedback on board, and how has that affected me? So at the start of this year, by February or something, I actually moved on to a new team, and in that new team, I'm actually pretty good. So it's a new project. It's a project around security, computer security, and all that, cyber security. And yeah, this new project, I'm working with a bunch of different teams from within the organization. So we're talking about architecture, some cybersecurity experts, infosec, so on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of different teams that I'm working with, and all these people have sort of given the high priority of this project. A bunch of different teams from within the bank have come together to work on it, and from my team, from my like 60 or 65 people project team, they have sent me to work on this. And over here, I can really notice the difference in my stand-up communication. Because once again, I'm working in agile team, and we've got a daily stand-up that lasts anywhere from like 15 or so minutes to up to, for this one, given there's two separate teams, two separate projects, it can go up to 30 minutes. And over here, I'm actually one of the I'm actually one of the good ones. Like my communication is actually much better than it used to be in my previous team, or in that previous project. Now, the reason why I've noticed this is because some of my colleagues in the new team, they are quite similar to what I used to be like in my previous project, my previous team. So this is when I can really see the difference, and I can actually see how my communication has improved, and how I just get straight to the point, and should anyone just go on and have, instead of a stand-up, make that a brainstorming session. How can I actually say, okay, you know what, that's great, but let's take this offline, and this deserves, we set up a separate meeting where we can discuss this. Yeah, so all of these things, so yeah, this is how I've noticed the difference in my communication and how I communicate my thoughts at work. All right, now having said that, moving on, I have started work on converting my Node TypeScript CRUD nodes GitHub repository, which was supposed to be a backend for My Day Todo, into a Java Spring Boot app. And yeah, I've made some progress. I've just got the one controller, the Todo controller defined at this point, but I'm working on in the next few weeks I'll work on integrating that with DynamoDB, and I want to get this deployed to EC2 instance, because EC2 is cheaper and it's much more cost effective than Elastic Beanstalk. So that's something that I plan to do, and I'll put a link to my Node TypeScript CRUD nodes GitHub repository, the mdt.backend repository, and everything in the link of this in the description of this video. So please check it out, and if you like any of my GitHub repositories, give it a star. And if you like my videos, and if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that too. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. So thanks for watching, and until next time, live long and prosper.